Hello and welcome to the second video about doing educational research. My name is Anne Delacroix. I work for the team Research in Education at the Faculty of Medicine at the Vrije Universiteit, and I'm a qualitative educational researcher. Qualitative research means that as a researcher you might be more interested in words and people's experiences and the way they express those experiences, values, desires, and opinions rather than statistics. So I like speaking to people in my research and to really get rich data from either observations, interviews or focus groups. And that is the topic of today, focus groups. So what is a focus group? Basically, a focus group is an interview, but you're not interviewing one person, but a group of people. So today I will dive into that method of gathering data, and I will discuss three things. First of all, your goal and design. Second of all, how to moderate a focus group. Thirdly, practical issues. Right, let's get started. First of all, the design of your focus group. So think about the question you really want to ask. What is it you want to know? Do you want student experiences? Do you want teacher experiences? Who is your population of your design? Or do you want to have one certain topic that you ask different people about? So think of the design of your research before you start and think about why you want to know this. A good research question is always practical, theoretical, and feasible. So think about how you can actually find out an answer to your question that will help you in practice, you and your colleagues, and will actually also link in with existing theory. So always think of your goal and your question first. Then also think of your design. So the topic might lend itself to have a mixed group of students, or maybe you want first year students separately from second year students, and think about how large your groups need to be. If it's a very sensitive issue and emotions might arise, you might want to keep your groups quite small. So maybe 3-4 people, and you need to make sure if it's a sensitive topic, if you want to talk about bullying in the classroom, or if you want to talk about moments where people have been disappointed in their own teaching experiences, you might want to keep the group small and think, do they feel safe with each other, these people? So if you want to talk about safe learning environments, maybe don't mix teachers with students, but ask them in separate groups. Have a group of students, have a group of teachers. Make sure really that you think about what is safe for everyone. So except from that, you have to think about your questions that you want to ask. So you want to think of groups, you want to think of sizes of groups, and you want to think of the questions you really want to ask. What you want to do in a focus group is always start with a general welcome. You want to say something about the topic that you'll be talking about, and you want to lay down some ground rules. So your interview guide really needs to take into account that actually you're holding a kind of small teaching session. And this is great when it comes to focus groups because you're experienced teachers, so you can definitely work in groups and make sure everyone is involved. So in your design, you want to ask the first question after you've done those three things. They're also mentioned in the article that's linked below. So after welcoming everyone, explaining the topic and laying down ground rules, you want to ask the first question. Now, asking that first question can look very different in different focus groups. You can ask an open question. You can also ask people to first write down their thoughts on post-it notes. You can also think of having a vignette or a case and asking people to think first about how they would solve that case or what their opinions are, and then start the conversation. So think, what first question do you want to ask and how do you want to start this interaction? So in your goal and design, think of your research question, who you want to talk to, how big your group should be, how mixed your group should be, and how you want to structure and design, and which tools you will use while doing the conversation. Do you want post-it notes? Do you want a case? Do you want inspiration cards? And so on. Those are a couple of things to think about when you think of design. The second point I mentioned might be the most important point, how to moderate a focus group. So the goal is, like with interviews in the previous video, to get rich data. What does rich data mean? It means that people say more than one simple sentence or just a yes or no answer. You want their answers and their responses to be layered, to have multiple perspectives possibly, to have multiple... if you analyze the interviews, you want to be able to have a layered view of a topic. So you want to know about what happened, also how people felt, also what people thought. So if you ask someone a question, they said yes or no, your data won't be rich, it will be very limited. So you want to make sure you have rich data. For rich data, people have to be able to talk. So they need to feel safe, they need to feel welcome. And these, much like in the mixed classroom model that you know, means that the first phase is to make the group safe and to make it inclusive. So make sure you state very obviously to the whole group, everyone's opinions are welcome, that we listen to each other, that conflicting opinions are welcome and will be considered rather than judged. And I actually advise, and a link is below, to look at the mixed classroom model for a good start of your focus group. So make sure everyone is welcome and state this very obviously. What I tend to mention as well in a focus group is to say that I have voice recorded focus groups before. I say to them, if it's not on the tape and it's not transcribed, then I can't take it with me as data. So if you disagree, say it out loud. And that's one of the things that I do as a moderator. I'm looking at the group the whole time, I'm observing. If I see someone looking pensively, I name it. I say, you're looking pensively. What's going on in your mind? If people are looking disapprovingly, I'll invite their opinion. What's that look on your face? Do I sense a disagreement? Am I right? Check if your assumptions are right and try to get the conversation going. Also, if everyone tends to agree, ask a question such as, could there be different points of views? Could there be different points of view on this topic? Or have you ever thought something differently? So really invite a variety of perspectives. Another thing you do when moderating a session like this is to make sure that the people that are normally not heard are heard. So think about having some silence in your group every now and then. Working with post-it notes, like I said before. If you ask a question and let people write post-it notes, you can invite people to say, do you have some notes left that others haven't talked about? So consider all these aspects. There is also a paper on how to take introvert students into account in your classroom, and some of those tips could be very handy in moderating focus groups. The link is below. Right, the third aspect is practical issues. So it's a larger group, so name cards are really welcome if you don't know your participants. So make sure you have some cards for the names. If you want to be able to trace who said what, mention their names. If you want to work with cards or post-its and name cards, make sure maybe you have different colors, one color for each person, so you can trace back what they said. I would really recommend audio recording this, and if you have the possibility, take a colleague with you or someone to make notes, because it is quite hard work to watch the group dynamics, ask the questions and make your own notes. So if there is a possibility, you should do so. So yes, again, like with the interviews, make sure you have ethical approval to do this study and all the participants know what's going to happen with their data and how it will report it back. So this is a lot to take in at once, so I've put some references down below. Please read them and reach out if you have further questions. But the most important thing is that you're all experienced teachers, so you know how to moderate a group discussion and really take those qualities in you with you to your focus group. So make sure to also watch the first video, because a lot of qualities of a good interview also apply to a good focus group. And remember, have a clear goal and a clear guide. Think about how you are going to moderate this session. And finally, think of the practical issues so you are well prepared to do your focus group. And most of all, enjoy!